Again with Corel draw tips and tricks, and today I'm going to show you how to draw this bicycle chain, actually called a roller chain I think, and quite possibly even how to make the sprockets. I might have to break this video up into two parts and maybe do the sprockets on a second one, but it's really kind of easy if you just think about a couple of things. And the number one first thing you need to do before you start making a chain is to go get you a pretty good hardwood wood dowel about the size that you're going to want to use for the pin. And I'm not a chain expert, but there's three parts to a chain. There's the link, the pin, and the roller. The roller is the part that the gear is actually going to meet up on and hit between here and there, or here too. So the gear sprocket would go between these two parts, and these need to be rolling. And so once you have a dowel, and you need several feet of it, then you can start playing around. And what I always do, I set my laser up and I go in this corner, and so I won't waste any wood, and I cut some holes. I measure the dowel with a caliper, and then I cut the hole. And you want a snug fit, not extra tight, but you want it to be snug. So you can go over and make it a hair bigger or hair smaller till you get the size of your dowel. Now with that said, there's actually two kinds of links. There's the outer links and the inner links. And as you can see here, this was actually a chain I made. This is where the dowel is going to go through. So like this is the roller. This is a roller made for another. This would be too big for this one. But this is the outside, and the hole for the dowel was 0.145 inches. Okay, on the inside links, those are the links that are like, and it's kind of hard to tell by this picture, but this would be an outside link, the next one would be an inside link outside, and they overlap. So there's equal amounts of both. You need to make the inside link not as snug. You don't want it floppy loose, but you want it to have some movement, or your chain is going to be too stiff. We're not going to, manufacture this out of steel and dip it in oil, and it would actually get better over time. It's and wood swells and changes. But if you, like my very first chain I made was out of plywood, or no, back up. My very first chain I made was this one right here, was made out of walnut. I have a full woodworking shop. I was able to make my own veneer walnut, and then I went to plywood. And you can see here, that's the plywood chain. So here's what I'm talking about. This is an inside link. This is an outside link. So the outside links can be relatively stiff, but the inside links need a bit of move. And here's a good view. This is the roller. And it needs to be and it doesn't really have to be loose, because it's going to, we're not going very fast, so there's no friction or heat buildup like in a machine, like on a bicycle or something like that with oil. So, but you need two links, and what I do is I cut them up and put them in little cups. I don't know what I did with that picture. Oh, I know what I did with that picture. It's right here. So here's a picture of my inside links, my outside links, my rollers, and my pins. Now, this is a small miter box that you can get it almost anywhere. I bought this one at Woodcraft. It's pretty good. It's what I used on my first chain. Here, this is a stop block. So I would put the dowel in here and use this little back saw to cut my pins to a certain length. After I started making more chains, I bought this one. This one is a lot better. It's got its own stop block. It's this was kind of hard to hold the dowel, and this is really made for a square piece of wood, where this is made for a round piece of wood. And I bought that at www.micromart.com. It's made for cutting dowels. I mean, this company has a bunch of miniaturized tools, and they're for people that are doing train work, making trains. Anyway, going back to our, so you only have to make this shape one time, but then you want 2 dowels. Now on my very first, and I'm sorry if I keep coming back, my very first chain, I made my own rollers. And well, evidently this wasn't the first one, because this is still one for a plywood, because this is a good birch dowel. But I have a lathe, and I was able to drill the holes out and then cut these into rollers. The second chains I started making, or the third and fourth chain, I made 100% of the chain on the laser, with the exception of the pin. Basically, this is a wooden washer, and that's going to be determined by your dowel size. The inside hole is going to be the dowel size. Let me see if I can do this. Yes. Okay, this is going to be your roller. So this inside hole is going to be your dowel size, and just a fraction under that. And what you're going to do, you're going to cut a bunch of these, and you're going to need one for every link, or maybe, well, not 2, because that one's going to the next one. So you need 1 for every link. Then you can stack them up across the width of your chain. Let's revert to that picture. So you would stack them up like this is one solid dowel, but if you've used excuse me, plywood, you'd need like three rollers. Then all they are is basically washers, and they would fit right there. So real quick on how to draw, the best way I found, and this is where I draw everything in the center of the page. And this is one of the reasons why. Let's say that's the size of your hole, put it in the center of the page. Now, set your offset to, let's say 1/4 of an inch. Make it, let me zoom in here. Make a duplicate of that. Well, let's do this here. Okay, that's the size of your dowel. Let's make a duplicate. Now this is going to be the size. I must not have made a duplicate. Control D. This is going to be the size of your chain link itself. P. Need to make it a little bit bigger. I made my dowel a little too big. So there's your deal. Maybe lock this together, arrange, group. Now it's in the center of the page. Let's move up 1/4 of an inch. Let's make a duplicate. 1/2 an inch, 3/4, 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2 inches, 2 1/2 inches between the two. So now you're symmetrical. Then you would just take and this is where you can, change it and make it your chain, and bring in 2 of these. And I've already, to save time on the video, I've already done one. So you've got these objects, and this is where your nudge factor needs to be set on 0.001, because you can move these things so minutely. That one's in the exact same spot it needs to be in. See, I can barely move it. So then, after you got your chain drawn, take your virtual segment delete key and delete that part. Delete that part. Delete that part. Delete that part. You've got your chain. Group it together. And you've got one of your links. So you would need to do let's say this is going to be your outside link and you're happy with the configuration. It looks pretty good. I maybe would have had it dip down a little bit more, probably so. But then you've got Control D, duplicate. So this would be, let's say, your outside link. Let's ungroup it. And our dial is, I drew it too big, 0.547. Let's say that's your outside. So the inside one, and this is what's good about Corel. I need to ungroup it all. Okay, 547. So this is going to be the inside link, and let's make it 555. And these are things you have to check, play with your dials. Now, what's so good about Corel Draw, it put that in the hole where the other one was. So it's going to be perfectly centered with the other one. 0.55. I didn't have my deal locked. So you've got your inside link and your outside link, and if you'll just, like I did here, mark them. You don't have to engrave them, but mark them. Now the only disadvantage of making a wooden chain is this right here, and that's not a very good picture. You're going to have to put CA glue, which is actually super glue. You're going to have to super glue these ends in, and I just don't like the way they look glued in. There's really no way around it. You're not working with a metal, metal deal where you can crimp it. See, there's a little bit of glue. Well, and it shines. So that's the only disadvantage. All right, I'm going to stop this one. And if you like, continue listening and watching. There will be another video about how to build this sprocket. So I hope that helped a little bit, and thank you for watching.